What's up, my people? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of the Manchester United Fans Corner. I'm your host, Shego. Guys, it's another time to discuss Manchester United, and so we have a lot to discuss today. So first and foremost, what we want to start discussing today is first of all the reports that have been circulating around the media space about potentially a midfielder that we brought in on loan for Manchester United, right? And so the names that are stirring up right now in the media space is first of all Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Wilfred Ndidi, right? So once we analyze what is going on with that situation, is it the right move? Why should we be going for them? What do they bring, right? We want to look at that situation, right? If it's a good move. And secondly, we want to talk about, the future of this club. We need to understand because we're in a situation whereby there is a lot of, excitement off of the Manchester derby, but also there's also a sense of what is the future, right? How should we progress after the season ends, right? Can we miss our target this season? And how should we progress after the season ends in terms of new manager and a new direction, right? Or maybe Michael Carrick stays as the permanent manager. So we want to look at those situations. And thirdly, we have some statements that have recently been made in the media space. And we want to give a quick reaction to it, our 2 cents to it, in terms of what was said and what we feel. So guys, it's going to be an enjoyable time. So let's jump right into it. So first and foremost is the link of the midfielder being brought on loan in January transfer window. Now, first and foremost, for me, I felt that there are only 2 conditions, and this is my own opinion. If I was to be in charge of maybe the recruitment of Man United and everything, I think that under all this current circumstance, right, that Manchester United is in right now, in terms of the major circumstance is the fact that we have 16 games to play remaining this season, right? We are not in any other tournament. We are just in the Premier League and we are playing 16 more games, right? So looking at it now, we have in the midfield position, we have 6 players that can actually, that we can actually use in different dynamics in that midfield. So obviously, Bruno Fernandes, Kobe Mainoo, Casemiro, Ugarte, Matheus Cunha, and Mason Mount. So we have those 6 players that we can use in various dynamics in our midfield. So for me, I feel that should be enough instead of bringing another midfielder on loan. Because for me, I've not seen that as a crisis, that position as a crisis. And this is my own opinion. I've not seen the midfield position currently as we're speaking as a crisis situation, right? Because Bruno Fernandes obviously does back from injury. Casemiro has been fit all season. Kobe Mainoo is back into playing in the midfield 3, right? So I do not see a crisis situation in that midfield. And I felt that the only 2 conditions I believe that Manchester United should be bringing in any midfielder, right? Any midfielder at all. Number 1 condition is the fact that we are bringing in a midfielder that obviously we have scouted and we feel this midfielder is going to walk straight into our team on a permanent basis and improve our team, right? So that midfielder, if the midfielder is available, is a midfielder you're scouted for a long time, maybe for months, and you feel this is the right person to bring in to improve our midfield. If that midfielder is available in January, why don't you go and get the midfielder? That was the first scenario. And that's, I think we said it on the podcast here, that was the first scenario in terms of if we are ambitious enough and we have that opportunity to go and make a statement by getting our midfielder that we have scouted, right? And we say, okay, these are the guys that we feel will fit into what we are trying to build here. And we can go for them in January. Let's go, let's get them. And we explained why that would be a good move in terms of there will be time enough for these guys to gel in. It's just 1 game a week. So these guys obviously can gel into the environment, they can gel it into the club. And maybe with the current circumstance, if we decide to go with a new manager at the end of the season, these guys are really adapted to the club. They've done like 6 months in the club, right? Or a few months in the club, right? A few months in the club. And then we have a new manager, right? And then the manager obviously, starts afresh with them and they are focused to begin the new journey. And in a case where we decide that, okay, after maybe a couple of good results, we decide Michael Carrick is going to be the permanent manager of Manchester United, the players already have 3 months to understand what Michael Carrick wants. And so there's this adaptation process. That was the first scenario, that we want to bring in players that we have already scouted and said, these are the players we want to bring in, right? and then we bring them in. They have a couple of months to adapt, to help us in our top 4 push, right? And then they've adapted, and then they can now adapt to the new manager or the interim manager if it becomes permanent. That was the first scenario. The second scenario is the fact that the only reason why you should be going for a midfielder on loan currently, looking at all the circumstances around Manchester United, is a situation whereby there is a midfielder you like already. But maybe because he's playing outside of the Premier League and you're like, oh, you're like, okay, let's just try and, bring this midfielder in, right? And okay, let's do it on a loan with an option or obligation to buy, right? And then you bring him in, and then obviously it's just to look at how he adapts to the Premier League, and then you make your final decision. But to now start hearing that we are deciding on going for either Wilfred Ndidi and Loftus-Cheek. Don't get me wrong, these are decent players. Wilfred Ndidi obviously is the captain of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Fantastic AFCON performance. We missed him against Morocco. I think we analyzed that in other episodes in the AFCON, right? Loftus-Cheek is a boy we watched at Chelsea. There was prospect there, but it's beginning to show that it's getting to a particular level where, we can say we are beginning to see his qualities, right? So I get that these are decent players, but the fact is, what are we walking by in this club? And I think at this point, I don't know about other people, I'm literally confused in terms of when we are seeing names pop up like this. Are these names popping up just because they feel there will be an outrage from the fan base if we don't buy players? And they're like, let's just get them something for them to keep quiet. Because the players they're talking about, let's even look at the players. Fantastic players, decent players, right? In a team that has Casemiro and Ugarte, why are we getting Wilfred Ndidi? I don't get what we are trying to do in that situation. So if let's assume, with due respect to Wilfred Ndidi, if we have Casemiro, we have Ugate's form has improved in a couple of days, what are we getting in Ndidi? What exactly is Ndidi going to bring for us that these guys cannot give us, right? And it's just a loan basis. I don't get that. Is it just to get an extra man on the bench? I don't understand that. If we say we want Loftus-Cheek, okay, with Kobe Mainoo, obviously having not played for a large part of this season, and is coming in hungry, wanting to play all the games, right? Wanting to to play because a World Cup is coming on. Why are we getting Loftus-Cheek on loan? What exactly are we getting Loftus-Cheek for? Right? So I don't really, for me, I might be wrong, but for me, I don't see the need of even getting a midfielder on loan in January, except for these two conditions I've said. Number one, if it's a midfielder that you have already scouted that you want to be on a permanent basis for him to adapt for a few months and then attack the new season afresh, right? I get that. Or a situation whereby you have been targeting somebody and you want to bring the person on loan with the view that the person, if he performs, will become a permanent signing. I get that. But to get loan midfielders for sake of loan midfielders with just 16 matches to the end of the season and having 6 players that can play possible variations in that midfield, for me, it's a no-no. It doesn't make sense. And that's why, for me, these are the kind of decisions that still shock me to who are making this decision. Who is making this decision? Even if we decide we want to go for a midfielder, the qualities of the midfielder we are calling doesn't even align to make us better. As I said it, we've had Ndidi, fantastic player, but we have Casemiro, we have Ugarte. So why is Ndidi coming? Loftus-Cheek, we have Kobe Mainoo. We have Mason Mount that can play in different variations depending on the opponent. A single pivot and the double and the 2 number 8. Mason Mount can do that job. Matheus Cunha can do that job. So I don't get it. For me, I don't really get it. And for me, it's now becoming like, what exactly, if this news is true, what exactly are the people making the decision? What are they thinking? And that's why I hope the news is not true. I hope the news is not true. But it doesn't make sense to me. Especially that midfield situation, it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe we can talk about another position, right? But for the midfield position, it doesn't make sense to me, really. It doesn't. So now, guys, speaking on that, let's go into these players that have been mentioned. So that's not that safe, because it's our own duty here, as usual, to talk about the players, to analyze them, right? And I've said, when I mentioned Wilfred Ndidi, obviously Wilfred Ndidi is a destroyer. Is a guy that intercepts the ball. Is a guy that breaks up play. Is a guy that breaks up play, releases the people to start the play. But we have that profile in our team, right? And even if you want to get a player that can play the number 6 role, why don't we go for, with due respect to Wilfred Ndidi, why don't we go for a more technical player, give us variety, right? Let's go for a number 6 that is a deep lying kind of midfielder, right? Maybe a number 6 that can become more of a register to this team, that can give us different dynamics in this our team. Not getting Ndidi that offers us what Casemiro offers us, that offers what Ugarte offers us. Now, I'm not going to compare who is better or who is not better, but I'm saying the profiles, right? Okay, let's look at Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Obviously, Loftus-Cheek is a player that fits into what we are talking about in terms of what we need, right? In terms of when we're talking about the likes of Baleba, Elliot Anderson, in terms of the kind of profile, right? Loftus-Cheek is a player that has the ability, great physique, is very imposing in duels, but majorly is a midfielder that helps to progress the ball by carrying the ball, pushing the ball forward, right? He has an ability to carry the ball and push the ball. So I get that part, but the fact is, we also have to look at it that there is a Kobe Mino that we have just had a discussion of him coming back into the team. And we are still looking at that, okay, off of what we saw in the Manchester City, the Manchester derby, right? Let him have more games, right? Get himself into the rhythm and play football there. So why Ruben Loftus-Cheek? Or is the goal, as I said, is the goal just to buy a player to keep the fans quiet, or just say we have done something so that you guys will not say we're not ambitious, so we're giving you a midfielder on loan? But it doesn't make sense. I prefer we even promote a academy boy to sit on the bench in these matches. It's better than getting those 2 guys in. So for me, one profile is a profile we already have. The second profile is a profile that the number of games, it doesn't really make sense to get them alone, except you just want him to sit down on the bench, right? We're not competing in any other tournament. All we have to do is just 1 game a week, right? 1 game a week to face. So let's go into other discussions in terms of the direction of this club. And that's why we have to still talk about it. What exactly is the blueprint of Manchester United? Now, I remember when Berada came in as the CEO, Wilcox came in, technical director before became sporting director, and Jim Ratcliffe obviously took hold of the footballing decisions, right? They came on board and they made a very big and bold statement that they want to win the league by 2028. I think that's what they said. That all their plans is to ensure that they win the league by 2028. And I'm like, these guys are making this bold claim, and I should be able to see, irrespective of whether you sack your manager or not, I should be able to sit down, look at what you are doing as a club, and understand that, these guys truly have a plan, have a blueprint to get to this goal by 2028. But from all indications, looking at even this Ndidi and Loftus-Cheek's news, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't show that these guys truly have a plan. I think we are now beginning to see what we call the signal versus the noise, right? These guys are beginning to show us that they are experts in making noise. But when you begin to see they make noise, we want to be ambitious, best in class. But when you see the signals, it's not matching up. It's not matching up. A club that decides that they want to win the league by 2028 should understand that every transfer window is very important. Every transfer window is a step forward to that goal, right? Every transfer window, either in or out, is a step towards to that goal. A club that decides to make that ambitious goal, right, should understand that they don't just want to, because even when you look at that, they say they don't just want to win it once and fall off. They want to win it consistently, right? But it starts from 2028. So a club that has that very clear goal, the signal should actually be showing better. Because from all indications, it looks as if what is being said based on the report is showing us that the likes of Wilcox, Berada, they have a plan, right? They have a plan. They have a way they want to play the game. They have, how they want to progress with things. And we cannot keep wasting windows like this. And some people might now say, the reason why they are doing is because maybe they don't want to do business in January transfer window. For me, that myth of a January transfer window not being good business, I think now it shouldn't be taken as serious, because now we have teams that are actually doing their scouting. It's not just that you just wake up in January in panic. And I understand that there are certain panic buys you do in January transfer window. But what we are trying to say about the January transfer window is that these should be players that you have scouted for a long time. But when the opportunity arises, you get them. Bruno Fernandes is our best player for Sir Alex Ferguson, was bought in the January transfer window. Virgil van Dijk was scouted for a long time at Liverpool, was brought in the January transfer window. We can also list some other players that have been effective for their clubs that were brought in the January transfer window. So the question to me, if I'm not mistaken, the question to me, even the likes of Enzo Fernandez, I think was January transfer window. If we are being honest with ourselves, January transfer window should not be a moment where we panic, right? But you cannot tell me that after months of scouting, our targets that we actually feel we fit into what we want to build now, if actually we have an identity of what we want to do, you cannot tell me that those guys are not available and we cannot get them. So for me, it's a fact of number one question: is it that there's no money or what? Or secondly, is it that there's no ambition? Because when we are getting, it's better we don't hear anything than to not be hearing Loftus-Cheek and Wilfred Ndidi. Manchester United. That's a target of 2028. Which brings us to the second point about this goal of 2028. How exactly do we want to play? I think I've been seeing reports in the media about different names being mentioned. And you know I've said it many times here. Names are being mentioned left, right, and center. There's a class of people that say, "Oh, let's see how Carrick does, and let's see if he does well, and maybe he warrants to get the job." I'm not against that. Okay, and that area is saying, let's go for the special names, the big names, like so people that have the caliber to become Manchester United managers, like the Ancelottis, right? The Ancelottis. Let's look for. Some people even say Simeone. Some people even say, okay. Some people say, let's go for the future of management in terms of the likes of Fabregas, right? Some people are saying, okay, let's go for the likes of De Zerbi. Some are saying Tuchel. Some people are even saying maybe Southgate. The question is, as I've mentioned many times on this episode, it's confusing. Because we don't even know the football we want to play. And that's what brings me to what, I had, which I'm going to address later. A legend, that's Thierry Henry said something, which I really is what we have been saying on the podcast. The club has to be the one to set the agenda. The likes of Wilcox and Berada with Vivel have to be the one to sit down and decide on a playing style. Thierry Henry used the example of Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich had an idea of how they want to play football. And then when they have the idea, it's just like a man that wants to get married. You don't allow your wife to come and determine, or the person you just say a girl and say she come and determine the qualities you want in a woman. It doesn't make sense. You yourself as a man should sit down and say, what do I want in a wife? The way a club should sit down and say, how do we want to play? What kind of manager will give us this kind of playing style? Okay, we are talking about going back to the United DNA of Sir Alex Ferguson. If that's that you want, analyze the managers out there, including Michael Carrick. Are these guys able to play that United DNA that you are talking about? If you see somebody that can do that for you, good and fine, get the person. If you say, okay, no, this one we are talking about, we don't want, we are talking about DNA, but we don't actually want this Michael Carrick style. We want maybe a De Zerbi, or we want maybe a Fabregas or likes. Define the playing style. We don't know where we are going to as a club. And for me, I'm just looking. Because as if we are not even, I've not seen signs that we're actually ready to break through from this circle. And sometimes it's just like, oh, let us just keep doing it. Maybe one day we'll break out. It doesn't work that way. Life doesn't happen that way. We need to have a strategy. And this club doesn't obviously look like having a strategy when they even bring the likes of Loftus-Cheek and Wilfred Ndidi as possible January transfer targets. It shows we're just doing things on vibes and inshallah. I'm very serious. It doesn't make sense. And this kind of thing infuriates. It's better we don't hear anybody than to be hearing these names. Because like, what exactly are we doing? Is it just names? Have you gone back to the identity that was just all about names without identity? And it looks like that's the same way we are moving. That's the same way we are moving. So, what is our plan? We have a target of 2038, except if that plan was just noise. And they just say something to make us feel like they have a plan, but the signals actually show something different, right? But if you actually have a goal and you have a blueprint of how you want to achieve that goal in terms of playing style, in terms of recruitment, in my opinion, no window should go just like that. I am of the opinion that Arsenal Football Club, for example, should have won the league before this season, which is looking as if they're going to win this league this season, hopefully. I am of the opinion that they should have won this league before now. Yeah, Pep was fantastic. But I believe that if they had done certain recruitment at the right time, they could have crossed over that finish line. This is my own opinion. You might disagree with it. I believe they should have crossed over that finish line early enough. But I believe there are certain windows, and I've said it many times. You can check if anytime I talk about Arsenal, I talk about this. There are certain windows that they didn't judge, were not just ambitious enough. And United has a target of 2028. Every window should make sense. Every window should mean a thing. In terms of we have done our scouting, if there's truly a player that fits what we want to build, we should go and get that player and show ambition. But no, we decided to go for loan. And all that says is the fact that we don't have a plan. We are waiting for the new manager to come and set the plan for us. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And that shows that thing was just all noise. Or just honest. So guys, let's go into the statements that have been made in the social media. I think I want to just take firstly, I want to take one major statement that has been made. I know a lot of statements, the likes of Postcos have said something, but I won't give my opinion on that. I think United fans are beginning to see the kind of legends that the so-called legends that we have in our club. And the likes of Postcos statements about Nicky Boss statement about Lisandro Martinez. That one, I think, is clear enough. The kind of legends that we have in our club. But also, let's talk about a particular character that seems to be setting the tone of the discussions we have in our fan base. And that person is no one else but the genius, Jimmy Carragher. I think, let me just, the first thing, if you look at months ago in October, we addressed a particular statement he made about the United DNA, right? So, and we tackled that. And we said the United DNA obviously is not a formation. There's no DNA that is a formation. I think I've explained it many times off air and on air that your DNA cannot be a formation. Your DNA is a set of ideas and principles you hold there. And anything you do, whatever formation you have, because formation changing in football, that's the history of football. History of football is about formation changes, right? But whatever formation you now choose to use must reflect these values that you have. So, for example, Johan Cruyff. As I said before, Johan Cruyff, the philosophy of Johan Cruyff in Barcelona was a philosophy of we need to have the ball. That the best way to go about the game is to have the ball. The best way to go about the game is that when we have the ball, we are one go up. We are one chance to winning. We are 50% to win the game. And it doesn't matter if, because Johan Cruyff mostly used the 3-4-3 diamond, I've said many times. It doesn't matter if it's now a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 or a 3-4-3 or what have you. The fact is that whatever formation you are using in that club must still reflect the identity of the fact that in the Barcelona side, they have to have the ball more than their opponent. They have to control the game. That's the identity of that club. So formations can change, but the basic identity remains the same. So if United's DNA is attacking football, it doesn't matter the formation. All that matters is that we must be attacking. We must be front foot, right? So we need to have a clear idea of what is our identity. And then we can now go through that. So he's mentioned, Carragher mentioned certain things about the DNA then. I think we trashed it. Our DNA is about courage. It's about winning. It's about ambition. It's about doggedness. It's about never give up. It's about, bringing memorable moments. Our most memorable moments in this club have always been a symbol of you don't give up. You don't underrate Manchester United. That's been our DNA. I think many people are beginning to understand that it's not a formation, and I think different formations can actually reflect that, right? But that one is aside. Jimmy Carragher now said something recently, and he's saying it after just a game of Michael Carrick as the interim manager. He says, let me just paraphrase what he said. He said that he doesn't see a Michael Carrick winning the Premier League for Manchester United. That for his own feeling, Manchester United needs a special manager to win the Premier League. For his own feeling, he feels the likes of Liam Roseno, the likes of Michael Carrick, they are not special in his own feeling and they cannot win the Premier League. The first question I have for Jimmy Carragher is Arne Slot special? Is there any special thing in Arne Slot? And a slot form, even when you look at him, is one of the most simplistic persons you will see in this game. The aura is obviously not there. But yet, he has a one Premier League title. Yeah, I understand the fact you can look at the likes of Jose Mourinho. You can look at the likes of, Pep Guardiola and say these are special guys. Antonio Conte, special in his own right. You can look at them. But the fact is, Arteta is looking like he's going to win the league this season. Are you telling me Arteta is that special? And I think what the likes of Slot and Arteta winning the league, if Arteta obviously hopefully win the league at the end of the season, what is showing us that it's not just about the personality now. Football is moving from the personalities now for a while. Because the big time managers are not there anymore. We can see what is happening to Pep Guardiola. It's looking like as if it's the end of Pep's time at Manchester City. What we are having right now is not about managers that even have the aura. What we are having right now, the likes of Luis Enrique, the likes of even Xabi Alonso, the likes of, De Zerbi, the likes of Company, these guys having in charge of big clubs. It's not, are you telling me Company has the aura to be manager of Bayern München? It's not about the aura now. It's about, do you have a system that works? Do you have a system, a superior footballing system that can deliver? That is, it's about systems now, not personalities. Yeah, I know personality helps, but the fact is, how many of these young guys have the personalities now? I know sometimes, yes, when they win a lot, the personality then comes and I become, oh, these are the big personalities. This is someone that have won how many titles. But the fact is, the Artetas, the guys doing so well in the league, the Emeries, where's the personality? Right? The Enriquez, where's the personality? The Nagelsmann, where's the personality? The De Zerbis, where's the personality? The Companies, where's the personality? These are guys that have a system. So what we should be looking for is not what this guy is saying. And it's such a shame that the likes of Jamie Carragher will be setting the tone for a Manchester United fan base. Because this thing is saying now, give it a few months, begin to hear some people parrot this rubbish. It's shameful. We should be looking right now is what system do we want to use to approach this new century of football? That's what we should be looking at. Football is actually progressing as a club. Football is progressing. And as a club, we should look at how can we be part of the next big thing? But it looks as if we are a club that is still bogged down by the past. You bogged down by the past. I don't understand that even DNA, DNA morphs. And this is my own opinion. And this is what pains me. We have people that are still nostalgic about the United States of the past. Why don't you look forward and chart a new course? Chart a new course. This is obviously 13 years, more than a decade of not telling me successful. And instead of us looking forward, we keep looking backward for personalities. Who personality help? If personalities were hit, Mourinho would have won the Premier League. Or Van Gaal would have won the Premier League. We need systems right now. And this is why we keep having these shows. United needs a system, a working system, an identity in this new era. And whatever that identity is, the people in charge to craft that identity. So all this talk of personalities, let's push it aside. Who personality help? Who personality help? Are you telling me that, yeah, I know Pep was successful before he came to England. But are you telling me that Jurgen Klopp had the personality that he had when he was leaving, when he came to the Premier League at first? Yes, I know he had won a title, or maybe one or two titles. I think a title with Borussia Dortmund. We knew him. We've had the name. But the fact is, when he came on board, it wasn't a big deal. He crafted his personality here in England. We all knew him that, oh, wow, special guy. Special guy. So if you're looking for personalities, it's just, for me, it's just trying to look into the past. Another point that have been made also, I know that reporters have been making it about Manchester United, is the fact of, they say we are looking for Premier League proven manager. I get that, and there appears to be some sense in that at first look. But also the fact is that there's also another side of looking at it. I understand that, yeah, you want the Premier League manager that understands the Premier League, but the fact is you're not getting a manager from Manchester City, right? You're not getting a manager from Arsenal, right? You are not getting a manager from Liverpool. You're not getting a manager from Chelsea. Right? So obviously, what you are looking for maybe is a manager that maybe has either coached this club before and has been sacked, right? Or you're looking for somebody that is coaching a mid-table club in the Premier League currently. And the downside of getting a mid-table club manager in the Premier League is the fact that the pressure levels as a mid-table club is different from the pressure levels at Manchester United. A manager that comes from a mid-table club has a different mentality than a manager that's asked to coach Manchester United. Right? And so we can look at that. Yeah, I understand there are systems that work there can also work there. I get that. But mentality also matters. But I don't want a manager that is comfortable with a draw. And for example, a Crystal Palace side to not be responsible with Manchester United that wants to win the league. So we need to balance it together. In as much as, yes, we know, yes, having an understanding of the league is very important. But also, who are we getting that is not someone that mentally is comfortable getting a draw? Well, I got a draw against Manchester City as Crystal Palace manager. It's not a bad result. We can't get that. And that's the way it's tricky. So we need to balance it, not just about, the person must be a Premier League proven manager. Even though yes, that point is valid. But when you also look at it, does it really make sense? Does it really make sense? So I think we need to understand where we are going to as a club. This is the major message I have in this episode. Where are we going to as a club? What do we want? What's our identity that we want to craft in this new era? And how are we going about it? That will inform what we want to do. What we want to do. So guys, this is my opinion on Manchester United as a whole. We've talked about the midfield targets. We've talked about asking ourselves questions about what is our future. It's confusing. At the moment, we don't know what we are doing. We don't know where we are going to. And thirdly, we've talked about the reports of Jamie Carragher talking about personalities. And we've said that, personalities, but the fact is, how many managers out there can you see have the personalities or have the personality to win something with Manchester United? And Slot didn't have the personality, but he had a system, he had players, and he won at Liverpool. So Arteta is going to win with not necessarily having a big personality, right? It's just a guy, good guy, looks like a good guy. But he was given time to build, and now he's looking like he's going to win the Premier League. That's no personality there. So guys, these are my opinions on what we've discussed. I know you might have your own disagreements, your agreements. Let's have it in the comment section. And don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and ultimately don't forget to share. I remain my humble self, Shegu. Until I see you next time. Bye.